Testing. Blah, 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 blah.
Ready, set, go.
It's time for the Coach Amy and Coach Liz show.
A podcast for endurance athletes by 2 athletes, 2 coaches, and a physical therapist.
We are your hosts, Coach Amy
And Coach Liz.
coming to you from Kansas City. Okay, so what's happening? What are you up to lately? Besides everything that we all know that you're up to.
Oh my gosh. I took a ceramics class.
Wait, a what?
Ceramics?
So like pottery.
Pottery.
Like you made pottery?
I made pottery.
Will you let me go?
Yeah.
Will you tell me where
It's
to go?
it's super
Where
fun.
was it?
At the Clay Guild over at 71st and Warnell.
And what did you make?
A variety of things.
Did you make a pinch pot?
I made, yes.
I feel like that's
5,000 cups.
beginner ceramics
I
101.
know.
Wait, what?
The 5,000 cups. Because
Oh,
you make
5
cups, you make the handle in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then we did like some imprinting. I can't even remember what it's called. And then you like inlay it and...
And then do you go, like, it goes into the kennel?
Yeah.
Or is it a kiln?
Kiln.
Okay.
Kiln.
We're going to call it a kennel because that's the way I've thought about it since I was like in 5th grade. Okay, so, and then that's where it like gets dried and then
It goes up to like 2,000 degrees. They burn it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then that sets kind of the stone then. And then will you go back and paint and glaze and all that?
Yes. And then it gets refired and then you bring it home and you give awkward gifts to the people you love and see what they do with them.
Okay, I want one. Do
Oh
I get one on the list?
Oh, yes. Oh, it's coming.
So happy.
I'm going to make sure it sits right in front of us the whole time
I
we
will
podcast.
love it. I will
my
cherish
God, I
it.
don't
If it's acceptable to take coffee, it'll be my podcast coffee mug.
Oh my gosh, you are a treasure.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, so I love expanding and doing different things. Okay, so talking about expanding.
Oh gosh. Wah wah. Pun intended.
Okay, yeah, that was not planned. So there is a topic that I am passionate about, and I'll try to hold myself back on how I feel about it.
I think this is going to be funny because I feel like I'm the worst.
Okay, what's the question, Liz?
It's about stretching.
Should we stretch?
Oh gosh. I'm coming clean, audience. Like, I'm the worst.
Oh my God.
I'm our worst nightmare.
So,
But don't you all out there pretend like you're not the worst nightmare, too.
okay, and to be fair, I had my first calf strain ever. And we're talking, it's severe enough that hubby had to come pick me up because I was out running. And I always say the only positive thing of having an injury myself is that I have new empathy. And I got to tell you, the calf, I mean, I truly understand now, people. I am so sorry. It really frickin' sucks.
And you even told me you want to stretch.
It's like an itch that I can't scratch. I want to stretch it so badly. And I know that's the worst thing I can do, but I get it, people. I understand.
Welcome to being human.
So let's talk about range of motion and motion, because that is why you have this temptation to stretch. But what you think might be a normal, healthy range of motion, that may surprise you. For decades, and it's to be fair, it's been ingrained in our heads by the fitness industry. It has pushed unhealthy ranges from the time of the yogis. I mean, it goes way, way back. And we still see that today in fitness studios and clubs and on social media. And well-meaning coaches and fitness instructors believe they're doing the right thing by pushing your range of motion because it's what they learned and it's what we've been taught and it's what's been in our head. And it's going to take decades to educate them and the public. And that's one of the reasons we're doing this podcast episode about stretching, because in physical therapy, we know how detrimental it can be. So now, don't just turn off this podcast because you're like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to stretch. I don't care what she says, because I'm not going to take away mobility from you. Okay. So
if I have to sit through the podcast, you all better stay with me. Because I'm telling you right now, it just makes me want to stretch.
I know, and I gotta be honest, I want to stretch this calf so badly
See?
like right now. I know.
You're torturing us all. Put
I
us out of
know.
our misery.
Okay, but I'm going to try to educate you so that you can do the right thing for your body. Okay.
Oh,
So,
God.
despite what the fitness industry and Dr. Google and some medical professionals still advise,
And my head.
stretching and your head. Stretching is rarely the answer or solution to your perceived tightness, your muscle spasm, your pain, or your lack of flexibility. And I promise you I'll give you some alternatives, okay?
So it's not the loosening up of things that's bad. It's the technique of stretching to loosen things
It's
up.
how you're going to do it.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So here's my favorite analogy. And I'm sure I read this somewhere and I think it's mine. Right? Or I heard it somewhere. I love it so much and it's become just such a part of me. And I don't remember. I'm so sorry. I cannot give credit to whoever said it or wrote it. But I'll tell you, I've owned it. And, but I don't think it originated from my brain. The feeling of tightness or the muscle spasm that you're having is your body's attempt to stop further damage. So when it senses a problem. So it's like a defense mechanism, like a fever when the body's fighting an infection. Okay?
So tightness is like a fever of the body trying to protect itself.
Yes.
And
Okay.
all we're trying to do is to like take that away. And
Right. Wrap your mind around that for a second. And then let's talk about there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 things that can cause this tight muscle. And I'm going to put quotations around it because sometimes the muscle's not necessarily tight, but it's that perceived tightness.
Yeah.
Okay. Or over contraction of it. All right. So
well, and so again, like it's
Yes.
it's our bodies telling us something.
it's a response to something.
It's a
Okay,
response
we're going
to
to talk
something.
about those somethings. I
Yeah.
have a list of 9 things.
I mean, I think that's
And
and
I
in a
re-
time when we're becoming more aware of like our somatic, awareness and body awareness and things that our body, The Body Keeps the Score is a really important book about the mind-body connection and how PTSD is stored in the body and that kind of stuff. So I do think in a time when we are starting to like, at least in the West, become more aware of like, our body does store a lot of information and that perhaps we should listen to it, that it is a good reminder that this is a good...
This is a time of enlightenment.
Well, but the nervous system is the connection between the mind and the body, and
Yeah.
your nervous system is definitely involved in tightness. So
Your nervous system is the thing that's telling the muscles what to do and the joints.
and the fascia.
And oh my gosh.
I know.
So
I'm trying to get on board. Did you
are
like my attempt there?
I
had to
am
take a
so proud of you. Okay. All right. The first 3 on that list of 9, I'm going to say all together, is injury can cause the muscle, to tighten up. And we're talking about all connective tissue too. So if I say muscle, I'm also including tendon, fascia.
An injury might be like in the place that is actually injured, but perhaps you're also getting, maybe there's tightness in like a secondary or third
Yep.
location because it's trying to protect the primary.
Good point.
Right?
Very good point. Yep. Overuse, which we've talked about and that could be just in your daily life with some of the things that you're doing in daily life that doesn't have to do with your sport, but we're going to be talking
Does
about
overuse
sport
happen
here.
in endurance sports? I'm wondering.
Okay, do we have an episode about that or several episodes about that? Okay, so overuse due to lack of recovery or overtraining and fatigue that can occur, and we're talking about right then at the moment, your high volume. Okay. So that's injury, overuse, fatigue. Those are, I feel like everyone would say, yeah, okay, I get that. Here's one that you might not know. Instability. And that's a term thrown around by physical therapists, and sometimes people are like, well, what is she talking about? What does that mean? And really, it's a lack of strength, your ability to support your joints during a given activity.
So is the instability generally around a joint?
It can be. Yes. That's mainly what I'm talking about. Because that's what your muscles are doing, is supporting your skeleton while you're doing whatever that activity is.
So if you have instability, it means like as you're going through a range of motion, instead of it moving sort of in the way that we want it to move, it might be wobbling or going too far, too short. There's different things.
You
so
don't
it's
have
moving how you
control
want
over
to.
it. Correct. Lack of control. Okay. So that's another thing that can cause us to have that, connective tissue tightening. And that feeling.
And so it would be tightening around the instability because it's trying to protect that joint.
Yep, it's exactly right. disease. So I'll really quickly, what I mean by that is there are many of us out there, athletes with autoimmune dysfunctions and some versions of arthritis and things like that. And those just by nature of that disease process, you're having some tight muscles. Okay, then hypermobility, this kind of goes along with the instability. Hypermobility means you have excessive joint motion. And oh my gosh, I see so many people in the clinic with hypermobility and they have no idea that they have
So
that.
what's the difference between instability and hypermobility?
It's very closely related because it is much hard. You have to, people who are hypermobile are very unstable. And you don't realize that you are.
So you could, if you're hypermobile, you have instability. If you have instability, you're not necessarily hypermobile.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And this hypermobility is talking about people with excessive joint motion. So if you're, someone, you might have been told like, oh, I'm double jointed when you were a kid. I guarantee you that person has, hypermobility.
And so the muscles will tighten around to try to protect that joint from being over mobile.
Correct. Yep. Okay, so that's, again, hypermobility is motion well beyond what is normal, and many people don't know what is normal.
Yeah.
And really, I'm not going to sit here and list like, okay, well, the shoulder should move 0 to whatever.
No.
But if you are having issues or you are concerned about whether or not you're hypermobile, that is something that a physical therapist could evaluate for and let you know and give you some tips. Okay, here's another one on the list that can cause our connective tissues to tighten up, and that is tension and stress.
But it's true if you look at the way the nervous system responds, like we respond to stress, right? And like our emotional response, like you'll feel that in the nervous system, and that nervous system is, again, what connects the mind and the body. And so the way that our nerves run through our body and like our emotional centers and like which nerves sort of respond to various emotions we have causes tension in the muscles. And people always ask me like, how do I get rid of tension in my shoulders and my neck? And, everybody who comes in says, I hold all this tension through my shoulders and my neck. And there is a reason for that. And that's because our bodies, like as we emotionally respond to things and we are stressed, our nervous center responds in those same areas through our shoulders and our neck. And so we get tight through there from emotional stress that we're feeling, whether that's like good stress or bad stress, but It creates those tight spots.
It's the fight or flight sort of mechanism. And you begin to then guard, even though there's not anything physically wrong.
Right.
You guard. And some people will hold it in their shoulders. Some people hold it in their jaw. Mm-hmm. Some people, it will be in their back. Mm-hmm. Glutes. I've got some people
through the hips. The hips are we're very connected emotionally through our hips.
But cheek clenchers. I mean, and everyone's a little different on where they hold it. And one day I noticed I was holding it in my shoulders and I was like, okay, just relax. And then a few days later I was like, why is my jaw so tight?
Right. Because
I shifted it.
Yeah.
It was like,
it does.
And really, would stretching have really helped any of this? I got to tell you, we're going to get into it a little bit more detail, but no, what breath work, meditation, all those other things to help you deal with stress, positive or negative.
And other types of movements, but maybe
not. And other types of movements, yes, which we'll get into. Okay, so last on the list of 9 things. We've gone over quite a few things, and are any of these ringing a bell to you guys? Right?
Not me.
That's a total lie. So the last one is going to be, and we've talked about this in our in past episodes, is biomechanical dysfunction. Basically, it's poor body mechanics, right? If you're going to swim, what's an example of like some poor body mechanics leading to the tightness in connective tissue is swimming?
Oh my gosh. Entering, like, you enter with your hand in the wrong position and that it turns the whole, that you enter in the wrong hand position and it changes how the humerus bone sits in that shoulder joint. I mean, right there, you've got all sorts of shoulder problems that are coming from how you've put your hand in the
Yeah. And your body senses danger and it's going to guard and tighten up.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So that's a very long list. And most of the time, there's more than one of those items.
And this just comes from living too.
Together.
It's not necessarily because we're doing something wrong.
It doesn't mean that you're bad or that you're doing anything wrong. Nope. It's just a fact. And a lot of times it's more than one of those items on the list coinciding at the same time.
So, okay. So we have lots of things going on. We say muscle tightness, but we've got muscles, we've got tendons, we've got ligaments, like there's fascia. So when you're talking about not stretching, like what specifically are we What are you talking about?
Okay, so this discussion is going to be more about the musculotendon unit. So let's talk about so muscles are connected to our bones with tendons.
Okay.
So there has to be a connection point. Tendons are the things. Oh God, she's
I'm
stretching.
stretching my piriformis.
Dang it. Talking primarily about the musculotendon unit. Tendons are what connect muscles to the bones. And then we're going to be talking about skeletal muscles. So those are the ones that move our bones, as opposed to like smooth muscles, which moves our intestines, for example, or like cardiac muscle, which pumps our blood. So we're going to be just talking about our skeletal muscles. And we can't talk about muscles without talking about the tendons themselves. And tendons are the bridge between muscle and bone. So if you guys can picture what this looks like, and I can find some images and see if we can include them in our show notes, but imagine rope. Skeletal muscles and tendon fibers are like rope. There's a series of bundles upon bundles upon bundles, and like maybe those little dolls that you can, those Russian dolls. It's like, layer upon layer upon layer of bundles, and imagine it looking like a rope. And if you look at muscle fibers, those are made up of several proteins. I'll name out one for you guys so you have a new vocabulary word. It's myoglobin. But imagine, if you look under a microscope, little tiny bridges that shorten and lengthen as you contract and relax. So little tiny bridges and these proteins. And then the tendon fibers are different. They consist of collagen fibers, and you guys, I think you've all heard of collagen before. And when you're thinking about what that structure looks like and how it behaves, imagine like a crimped up piece of paper, maybe like if you were to make one of those fans, how you layer and crimp it up. Imagine the crimps flatten as the tendon is loaded. So as the tendon is loaded and lengthened, it flattens out. And tendons themselves are stiffer than muscles, and they take on a greater tensile or pulling strength. Okay, so now you can imagine kind of what it looks like and how they're functioning a little bit. And then how does this translate into what we're doing in endurance sport? Muscle tendon units create forces in two ways. One of the ways is, the unit itself uses elastic energy. So think of like a rubber band that you're stretching and then releasing to let fly. That's an example of elastic energy. And a musculotendon unit that is undergoing that it's like when we're running or jumping. Okay.
So it's like a load and a release.
Yes, and a spring, like a spring. But then if you think about like cycling and swimming, that's really not going on.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, the musculotendon unit is using stored energy that's in the muscle. So think back to junior high science when we're talking about like the ATPs and those things. So you've got that stored energy, and it's released when you contract and shorten the muscles. So, and it's not that you're not using that kind of energy when you're running as well. There are muscles. So for example, when you are in the swing phase of gait with running, and you're kind of extending that knee so that you can land your foot underneath your base of support, you're going to be contracting the muscles in that way. That's not a spring or elastic energy so much there.
But I feel like this is a really good, just as a side note, why it's so difficult to go, like, why when you come from a running background, cycling can, like, you're so fit from running, but cycling feels so different, and it takes such a long time to develop really cycling fitness. Or you come from like swimming and you go to running, or you are moving yourself forward in very different ways with those sports.
Yes.
And I think that's why it makes
the muscle tendon unit has to learn to behave like that.
It does, and it's like in that learning curve is not only hard for that specific sport, but it affects the sport that you were previously really good at.
Aha! Ooh, yes! Oh my gosh, that's so true. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now let's talk about stretching. Okay, So I've broken everything down into numbers today. I don't know why. I hope it's helping you guys to format this in your brain. It's helping me, I guess. There's 3 types of stretches. So let's talk about static stretching. Okay. That is a prolonged hold. If you look it up somewhere else, they might say, well, it's not prolonged unless it's over 30 seconds or a minute. And I'm going to tell you right now that I think a prolonged stretch is over 5 seconds, like 1,000, 2, 1,000, okay? And it's a prolonged stretch that pushes you past your current range of motion. So the available range of motion for you, it's pushing you past that. So whatever that is.
So talk about what that feels like. Because like I feel like when I think of like people say don't stretch, I'm thinking of people who are really cranking on stuff and like really going past where they should go. But like if you are going up to the point where you are like, you have a natural endpoint for your range of motion and like you're kind of staying there, do you consider that still stretching?
I would consider that if you are staying within your range.
What does that feel like?
And we'll get to that.
Okay.
And then, because that's going to be more like dynamic stretching. But if you are getting to an endpoint and you're pushing past that endpoint and holding it, that's a static stretch.
Even like a little bit.
Okay, don't worry. I won't take it away completely, Liz. I promise. Okay.
She still didn't answer the question.
Imagine I'm trying to give you an idea of what a static stretch, maybe like a yoga pose that you're holding for a while. Okay. Now, static stretching can be harmful. What is your thought?
Well, you don't have to go into yoga to win. Like, you don't go to yoga to win, but like it does feel nice to like go to the end range and like just kind of breathe and like breathe through it.
Yes, and that is we will talk about what you can do for yoga. I'm not saying you have to take yoga away from you. Okay, not at all. Okay.
I'm trying to help her.
Yes, not all yoga is bad. Okay. I'm just having you imagine a pose that you're pushing past your range of motion and holding it for a long time.
Well, I will say in my younger days, I thought I was in yoga to win it. And that phase of my life has passed, thankfully. Okay. So I think, there's some caveats there.
Yes. Okay. Glad you acknowledged that. Okay. So back to static stretching, it can be harmful, especially if you're a hyper mobile. Remember we talked about that, people who have excessive range of motion, or people who are hypomobile, meaning their joints are really tight. We might have missed hypomobility.
Yeah,
I think we forgot to mention number 9. Okay. But in that case, that's when you have limited range of motion in your joint, and
that's
it's
when
dictating.
We say we're really stiff.
Yeah,
I'm really stiff.
Dictating how far you can actually move, and it's coming from tightness in your joint. So that's a very different thing. But either with hypomobility, not enough range of motion in the joint, but then or excessive range of motion. This is where it can, static stretching can be harmful, and again, if you have an injured tendon or a torn muscle. And remember, with torn muscles, you have micro tearing in training. So just keep that in mind. So if we're stretching that, all we're doing is promoting and causing more tearing. So in synopsis of static stretching, it can damage muscle fibers further. It can also damage the joints. So what's the second type of stretching?
Oh my gosh, I'm biting my tongue.
I know. This one you'll be happy about. This is dynamic stretching. Okay, so this is dynamic movement within your current range of motion. So for example, standing, like just if we did standing hip circles, okay? You might be going and making a really big circle because you've got higher range of motion than me. I might be making smaller circles because I have less range of motion, but we're working within what we have and warming up the joints and the proprioceptors. And I like to use the word dynamic mobility exercises instead of dynamic stretching. And here's why. Because so many of us automatically associate a stretch with that long hold and pushing past the normal range. And I'd like to take that word out because the word stretch emphasizes the point and help, and if I take it out, it'll help you and patients remember. Okay, so this is my favorite activity, this dynamic mobility. It is joint friendly and it's muscle and tendon friendly, and it warms you up for the activity that you're doing. It also cools you down from that activity.
Well, and I feel like the dynamic mobility, I will say, I find extremely helpful, and it also lubricates the joints. So like your joints feel better because that, what they say, motion is lotion, and so you move, and so you're not. So that's where you go to like your natural end range of motion and let things warm up. You're bringing in you're warming up all the muscle fibers. You're lubricating the joints, so it does,
and the tendon, all of the fluid that's going to the tendon. Yep. So everything is going to move freely and be more mobile for your activity or after your activity if you found that, hey, you know what? It's my body sensed danger and it responded in this way. I'm going to do some dynamic mobility. So that's my favorite one. And then we have the third form of stretching, and that's a ballistic stretching. Okay. So that's kind of like that bounce stretch. You know, I remember being in junior high and bouncy, and in gymnastics, bouncy.
I thought that was like big no.
It is.
Oh.
Well, okay, let's talk about it.
It's like you bounce past the range of motion
Yes.
and bounce back.
Yes.
I remember that.
It involves pushing
Boing, boing,
the
boing.
tendon past its normal range and bouncing quickly.
With force. So you're passing it.
Yeah, and when you pass the range of motion, that's the problem.
Yeah. Especially
So
with force.
the risk of injury is very high, and which is very worrisome to me. Because why are we doing this? We're trying to prevent injury. We're trying to be better at our sport, not worse. So I recommend that runners do dynamic mobility first. And again, because we're trying to warm up our elastic energy, right? That type of movement and loading that we talked about earlier. Follow up dynamic mobility with plyometric jumping drills. And that doesn't mean going past your current range of motion when you're doing it. That is safer and sport specific. Because in running sports, we're most concerned about the collagen fibers that were in those tendons that we were talking about. So we're concerned about those lining up in the right direction so that they can load and spring and provide energy. And that's what the plyometric drills do. That's not ballistic stretching.
So because I was going to ask, because I have heard and read about doing like static stretching before you run actually flattens the muscles because it's not getting that elastic response ready. And so this sounds like that's what, like that plyometric, it's like warming that up and kind of getting things ready for the motion that you're going to be doing while you're running.
Yes. And a dynamic mobility exercises before you start doing the plyometric drill is really important. That order is kind of important. You're going to warm it up, and then now we're going to get into that sport specific loading. Absolutely 100%. So like I said, we have answers and solutions to this instead of that static stretch.
When I've asked Amy, but stretching feels so good, I'm being forced to say that.
Yes.
But it's true.
It's true.
Because it's true. Well, and especially, I mean, I feel like, I don't like the age card, but I will say the older I get, the more like creaky things get. And so, you're sitting there and stuff is achy. And like my natural inclination, especially if I'm trapped sitting someplace, is to start stretching, like just kind of start, I can't get up and do my leg swings while I'm trying to podcast. So I'm secretly trying to stretch my piriformis right now. I got busted.
Well, let's talk about that.
Let's do.
How you would want.
Because it's like, you get all nervy back there, and it's because I'm like, I'm tight.
So could you do some sitting cat-cow, and could you do some of this, shoulders over the hips?
I bet I
like
could.
this, you could. Yes. So
that's viable.
I mean, yeah,
that's viable.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and I think really what it boils down to is you have a history of doing that like little pigeon stretch, crossing the figure four, and then leaning over and really grinding into that hip. And here's why you keep doing it. Because at the time, it feels good.
That's correct.
It absolutely 100%, but it gives us a false sense that it is helping, and you could be causing further damage to the connective tissue, the nerves, the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, and the joints.
And so legitimately, like right now, instead of doing that pigeon stretch, you're right, like just doing some gentle mobility through there to get that, to lubricate that joint and to kind of warm things up a little bit and open them up. Right.
And it does, it hurts.
She's
it helps, and it's magic once you know how to do it and what to do. Okay. So, all right. I was going to make Liz say this, but patients
You
will
see?
say, I feel like some
I'm
physical
being forced.
yeah, some physical therapy treatments, like if you've come in to see me or another physical therapist, it can seem like stretching. It can seem like your takeaway is, oh, like I don't know how many times I've had people say to me, oh my gosh, you're poking, like, oh, she pokes her thumbs into you. And it's like, well, actually, it's what you're perceiving that's what's happening, but I'm actually not doing that. Or, oh, she's stretching you.
It's gaslighting at the highest form. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think it can confuse patients and athletes because it's kind of like what you perceive that I'm doing isn't actually what I'm doing. So, and to be fair, that's like, I would, when someone's moving on me, I'm like, I don't know what's happening. It feels good. I don't know what you're doing. Like when I'm getting a massage from you, for example. Okay. So, I mean, I don't know what your hands are really doing, right? Okay. So like, one of the treatments that I use, one of the tools in my little tool bag is active release technique. Physical therapists will also use passive and active assistive range of motion, and mobilization of the joint, but those are not stretching maneuvers. So it can be confusing because you can leave and think, oh, well, she was stretching me.
Yeah.
And so then stretching must be good. And that's a dangerous connection there, because a physical therapist shouldn't really be stretching you. Now, there's going to be certain disease conditions, maybe someone with cerebral palsy. I mean, there's just some conditions where physical therapists do stretch, but with our patient population here and the athletic population here, that's not happening. Shouldn't be. And a licensed and experienced physical therapist can ensure that the dynamic movement that is going on during the treatment doesn't compromise the tissue and the joints. So that's where, oh, well, she's, digging her thumb, which I'm not really digging. I'm tractioning the tissue and moving it in a certain direction, and I'm taking your leg and I'm moving it over here, and it can seem like I'm stretching, but I'm actually being really careful that I'm not compromising the tissues and the joints during that time. So I wanted to really highlight that because I know some of our people do come to me and wonder, what the heck is she doing? I'm pretty sure Amy was stretching me and poking her thumb into me. Which also brings me to another thing I hear in the clinic and I see, and this, I'm calling it the hamstring thing. Okay, because this is what I say. See, someone will lay on their back and lift up their leg for me and be like, oh my God, my hamstrings are so tight. Because there's a slight bend in the knee, right? They're like, and I gotta tell you, being able to keep your knees straight and put the palms of your hands on the ground, that is over normal range of motion. You'd be surprised. Aren't you surprised? And you shouldn't be able to keep it isn't necessarily normal range or healthy range of motion to be able to have a completely straight knee, lay on your back, and bring your thigh towards your chest and really go past like a 90 degrees from your trunk to your thigh. And I'll try to dig up an image for that too and put that in our show notes so you can see what I'm talking about.
I mean, if somebody has a specific, this is like just like the 100%. Average Joe, but like sports require different things in your body,
Yes. And endurance sport does not require that. So people will think, to be a runner, I need to have a lot. The perception is that you need to have a lot longer hamstrings than what you actually need to have. And there's this perception of that, if I can't, raise up my leg and have a completely straight knee, I must have tight hamstrings, and that's not true. A slight bend in the knee with forward bending or a leg raise is normal, and I think that's retribution for all those runners out there that don't have that. So relax. Don't worry. What if a muscle or joint feels restricted, painful, or weak, or you are experiencing symptoms of like numbness and tingling and that kind of thing, and that's when you need to schedule an appointment and see a medical professional who's licensed and experienced to help you.
So what should we do then? I feel like you kind of already talked about that.
Yeah, the dynamic mobility exercises. We talked about that. But also there's some other things you can do, and that's myofascial release and mobilizing the muscles. A lot of times people will do that with a foam roller, and we've talked about in a previous podcast about foam rolling. We come, and I've mentioned the tool, the little hedgehog tool that I love. Doing those things properly and safely is a good way to mobilize the tissue when you feel like you need to stretch something. Yeah. And then We kind of already talked about yoga, and I think my favorite type of yoga that is out there are the ones that utilize the dynamic fluid motions and focus on a normal available range. So it's promoting strength and balance, and good mobility that's not pushing you outside of your joint range of motion. So how do we want to finish? Should we stretch? What do you guys think the answer is?
Thanks so much for listening. And remember,
we are in this together. Until next time.